Rob Schneider has been very vocal with his conservative leanings, or at least his anti-woke culture sentiments, anti-cancel culture. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not like the rest of the conservatives that are out there. I do have my conservative leanings, and by leanings, I mean fallings, because I'm not somebody who woke up one day and realized that, I was a liberal, and then all of a sudden things got crazy. The left left me. No. I've been a conservative my entire life. If I'm to properly surmise my political standings, my personal politics, you might shudder at how absolutely staunchly right-wing I am. Even more so than a bunch of those popular pundits that are out there that just go with the flow on everything. One thing that I find extra detestable about conservative influencers is just their need for acceptance from the left, okay? I find it cringe every single time that I see a B, C, D, E list celebrity pop up and go, guys, there's a problem with the left. We should push back against this woke culture. Normally, I kind of think that it's a publicity play, and especially now in recent years, that pool has become precipitously warmer, not quite career self-delusion like it used to be for somebody to stand up and wave the conservative banner like a James Woods, like a John Voight. But I gotta give Rob Schneider his flowers for this because, well, he's been in this for a minute, and it's not normally a case where I need a Hollywood actor to break down complex geopolitical situations for me in order for me to understand it, or for me to adopt positions of an adult pretender in order for me to find validity to a situation. I can look at a guy in a certain spot and realize that, he's being honest, but then he's also finding out that to appeal to Republicans, trying to cozy up to the GOP establishment, you're going to find out quickly that the big party, the grand old party, doesn't represent actual conservatives. So Rob Schneider argues that woke ideology is close to collapsing. Mainstream media and Hollywood can't continue to ignore half of the population. And while I would tend to agree with that sentiment, I would add a couple of caveats to that. I think it's more than half of the population. Okay, it's just the incredibly vocal minority that pushes the craziest of ideas. And no, you can't continue to pander to, I would say, 10% of the audience that doesn't even turn out to pay for the stuff to begin with. And if there's any validity to those reports that, the Vanguards and the BlackRocks and the ESG money, the guys in charge of that, which I never gave that much validity to, sounds like they're spurging out wanting to go ahead and, do a massive pullback because, spoilers, the hedge fund money that's out there, they need to turn a profit in order to maintain their own cash flow in their own industries. So yeah, this was always going to be a bubble that was going to burst. So that's why I don't really put that much stock in saying that, it's all for this ESG money, the DEI stuff. It's like, okay, cool. If you want to go be the boy who cried woke, go ahead and go over there. I'll just do it when I see certain specific instances instead of just taking a big old brush, taking a paint roller, and then just simply covering all of the land. Because in order for a criticism to be apt, it needs to be specific. And while that side of the aisle wants to go ahead and twist all the meanings for words, words are powerful, words are important, but words also have specific definitions. And if you do not apply that same standard, your critique, your criticism is worth just about as much as theirs does. So the woke mind virus has infected most, if not all, types of media and entertainment in recent years, but comedian Rob Schneider believes that wokeness as a whole is close to a collapse and may finally be coming to an end. And to just address that specifically, I think technically he's right, because we're seeing more pushback than ever. It's going to be a long time to see it actually flushed out of the different entertainment avenues. Okay, for Hollywood, like, even if they're going to be course correcting, we're still 3 to 5 years away from all of those projects that are still in the can, waiting to be released. And then, of course, with the bigger studios that are more entrenched with this stuff, your Disneys, your Warner Brothers, your Universals, if it's not for these places, maybe just collapsing under the weight of their own incredulous decisions, it's going to take a minute for all of them to course correct. if that's even in the cards to begin with. And then when it comes to video games, oh my God, like we're just seeing all of this stuff play out right now with Gamergate 2, whatever we want to call it. But the development times on games, and given how protracted most of them are, it's going to be a long time for us to actually flush all of this stuff out. But yes, is it close to a collapse? we can see every industry, at least at the highest echelons, burning. Theater projections, box offices on the air, it's a dumpster fire. How many AAA smash hits in the gaming industry have we seen so far, compared to how many releases that are out there? Not many, and few and far between. During a recent interview with Fox and Friends, first Todd Pirro and Carly Schmickes, Schneider briefly talked about his involvement in independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s A Night of Laughter fundraiser, noting the importance of free speech and how Democrats have become the party of censorship. Yes, okay, this would have been a biting critique if this was back in 2012, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong. The comedian went on to call out Republicans for their inefficient way in which they've handled the impeachment of Joe Biden, noting that the party is getting closer and closer to doing nothing about Biden in the impeachment. Oh, they're not going to. They're not going to, because anything now that they could potentially do will be used as a campaign talking point for November. So they ain't going to do shit throughout the rest of the year other than go, hey, if you vote for me, we'll continue to do nothing except for just show you that the party is not actually for you if you're a conservative-minded individual. Rob Schneider denies the report that he was removed from stage during a comedy set at a GOP event. Now, here's the thing. Even with it just simply being a report that he was removed, potentially removed, he wants to refute that. The fact that there is an argument at him is simply parroting those same talking points that were more than willing to be accepted over at Robert F. Kennedy's event. Lasted 10 minutes before he got he was cut off over raunchy jokes. Now, as somebody who is an old school Opie and Anthony fan, you hear from comics all the time. Okay, they talk about the different rooms that they play and the different types of material that you bring that fit the tone and tenor of the room. I don't really think that Rob Schneider would have been breaking out his bluest material at a political event, okay? Because I've heard comics talk time and time again about the corporate events that they play and the way that they have to clean up their material in order to play to the crowd. Now, Schneider's been a stand-up for decades at this point in time. He knows how to work a room, obviously. I don't think he would have been removed for raunchy jokes. It just simply would have been something that he, A, would have toned down, or B, realized very quickly that, oh, this is a GOP event. Oh, they take offense to these jokes, and oh, the Republican Party doesn't actually represent the conservative base. Comedian Rob Schneider is refuting a news item that appeared in Politico's website in the week, stating that a stand-up set to the GOP event in late 2023 was cut short when his jokes he deemed too lewd for the conservative crowd. The outspoken right-leaning comic. Yeah, that's crazy, because this is, you can see up there in the top corner, this is the Hollywood Reporter writing this article, and the fact that they only called him a right-leaning comic also shows you that maybe some of these industry rags, they're starting to clean up their act. Who made a name for himself, a Saturday Night Live cast member in the late 90s and went on to star in comedies such as The Hot Chick, Grown Ups, Waterboy. Basically, he's one of Adam Sandler's boys. We know it. Everybody knows it. He's the you can do it guy. He's very funny. I'm not going to take that away from him. But I would also say, Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, that's probably his biggest starring role. Is there any other competition that's out there? About a Political report in which he reported that the Senate Working Group Executive Director James Kimmy cut him off within 10 minutes of a set in the LA's Waldorf Astoria over the comedian's raunchy jokes. The events had about 150 attendees, Politico reports, and that the guest list included 40-plus Senate chiefs of staff who reported received an apology email regarding Schneider's brief performance the day after the event. One joke about a Korean whorehouse made it into the reported 10-minute set before the audience, Politico reported, citing anonymous sources. Cut him off. Senator Sidney Hyde-Smith, Republican from Mississippi, found the set so gross and vulgar that she had to leave the event. A Korean whorehouse. Meanwhile, at the beginning of the year, there was actual evidence that the Senate meeting chambers were being used as a staffer whorehouse. These people have seen worse. These people have done worse. Hell, they use the American people as their own tax slave prostitutes. So what are we doing here? So Schneider rebuffed the story on Wednesday, telling TMZ that he performed his full 50-minute set at the event and said that many of his jokes are in his 2020 Netflix special. I'm not changing my material or apologizing for my jokes to anybody. Enough is enough with this woke crap. America is sick of it. I did 50 minutes because that's what I was paid to do. Corporate gig. Nobody removed me from the stage. Somebody waved at me at the 50-minute mark. Yeah, because probably in this place, they didn't have the light to let you know. It's like, okay, your set's up. He accepted the $50,000 appearance fee, he said, and he worked a jab at President Biden, adding that payment devalued by 26% over the last 3 years. Very funny. Very funny stuff. He's a witty guy, and he knows how to play to his audience. That's what I think ended up happening. But the fact that he has to answer for that stuff, and the fact that there's anonymous reports, a good job Politico, used to actually be a legitimate outlet, but then again, we're talking about things that happened well before my time. We're coming forward with that. And then also to have, Schneider come to the realization that, the GOP really not doing anything. Really not doing anything. And that's the state, because there's not been a lot outside of the Trump stuff. When it comes to politics, not a lot of political news. Not a lot at all, mostly because there's been a lot going on in the grand scheme of things. And everything that is there, it's like, okay, Joe Biden can barely tie his own shoes. That's why he has to wear Velcro now. He's got extra wide soles so he doesn't fall over. I wish any of that was false, but go ahead and fact check me if you don't believe. But Biden's been falling upstairs since the moment he got inaugurated. And the Republicans, they sent a couple of strongly worded emails. Why? Why on God's green earth would anybody be enticed to go ahead and go, you know what? I'm going to be voting Republican in November. They are once again just trying to get it across the finish line. They're just hoping that they can go ahead and get that Trump bump, weather another 4 years, and then just return to business as usual. But there's something that came up recently in the form of Vivek Ramaswamy, and I know people have the problems with him. I think that he's generally level-headed, and he's definitely the best of an incredibly weak bench on the GOP side. That's not diminishing him. I do, in fact, like him, and I think that he's probably the next best set. Saying that, I'm going to issue a debate challenge to Kamala Harris. I'm just thinking, you know what, brother? You should probably hold that off for here for a quick second, because in September there's a certain set of debates that end up kicking off, and you might end up getting your opportunity even if Kamala tries to cackle her way out of that situation. So shout out to Vivek, shout out to Rob Schneider for coming to the conclusion that everybody else has that's been working this stuff for a long time, that Democrats are bad. At least they're doing something. GOP on the other side, they claim to have all the answers, but if you don't do anything with said answers, are you really any better than the competition? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.